Okay, so I just wanted to post a little video about something I've always wondered about and something I recently kind of figured out. I was always wondering if the difference between, or if there was any difference between the basic Avid EQ3 plugin and the S6L channel strip plugin, or the Dynamic 3 compressor plugin and the S6L built-in compressor. Reason being, not everybody always has access to a console, and maybe you need to do pre-production on your own, and you have a multi-track, and can you just use these plugins in Pro Tools and then transfer the settings over to the console and have a good starting point? And so I did some tests. I went to a local PA shop, actually called the PA shop in London, Ontario, and shout out to them, and messed around for a day and figure some stuff out. I used Smart, I used Pink Noise, I used my ears, I used recordings of guitars, vocals, snare drum, just to test everything. And here's what I figured out. So the EQ is basically the same. Their ranges for certain things are the same. There's some restrictions. So, for example, the EQ3 plugin has some frequency restrictions. Not all four bands are going to be able to go from 20 to 20. On the S6L, you do have the ability to do that. That's just something to keep in mind. You have a 6, 12, 18, or 24 dB per octave choice for your filters on the plugin. On the console, if you're trying to just use the built-in S6L high pass or low pass, it's only 24 dB. But once you do that, they do match up, and I'll show the traces in Smart. A couple of them look like they're off, but it's because I was impatient and I was capturing the trace right before the averaging buffer kicked in or whatever. And then the only thing important to note is you have a range of -12 to +12 on the shelves, whereas on for the plugin, whereas on the console you have a range of -18 to +18. If you have a shelf with a Q value of 1.0 on the plugin and then 1.0 on the S6L, they match. Same for 0.1 all the way up to the number 2, and then the S6L just has a bunch more range to do some pretty wild Q shapes for the shelf that the plugin can't do, but I don't think many people would want to use that anyways. So we'll just take a look at those. So here is 24 dB per octave high pass filter on the EQ3 plugin, phase and magnitude showing here on Smart. Then on the S6L itself, same shit. The low pass filter on EQ3, and then the S6L. I believe this was the one where I hit the trace early and didn't let it average. As you can see, it looks like it's not only smooth. It's not only is it's not smooth, but it hasn't went on top of each other. But I'm almost certain that it did. I might have just preemptively or prematurely, did that. So my bad on that. EQ boost 6.6 dB at the widest Q, 0.1 on the plugin, and then the same thing on the S6L. It actually ended up being 0.11 was I found the closest way, and a slightly different frequency. I don't know why that is what it is. Sorry, I'm about to burp here, but it is what it is. So it's 732 on the plugin, 736 on the console. Only weirdness being up here, which doesn't account for the frequency change because this frequency is higher. So if anything, if there's a difference, you should see differences over here because the purple S6L was actually more to the right if you're looking at the numbers. But that's, you can't even see the two traces in the phase. It's so perfectly on top of each other. Another boost, this time at 1.0 Q. There's the plugin. There's a console. And final Q, 10.0. Something weird here going on. I don't know what that's all about. And then 10Q on the console. Shelves, again, there's 0.5 on the plugin, 0.5 on the S6L, 2.0 on the plugin, 2.0 on the S6L. And I have no average or no smoothing at all on here, so that's why things might look a little different. Just for fun, if you want to see the S6L on 10Q shelf, that's what you're getting. And that's pretty much it for the EQ. We'll go on to the gate next. Again, there's a little bit of difference here. You can't go quite as fast with the hold time on the console as you can on the plug-in, but when you do put the numbers the same, they react the same. 20 uniseconds of attack time on the plug-in and 20 on the S6L to my ear was correct. The way I tested this was, I don't know if I explained this yet, but I tried pink noise, a vocal, and a snare drum. I double patched that to 2 channels, 1 channel, the plug-in, 1 channel using the S6L built-in, flop polarity on one of them, and see what would be required to get them to phase cancel. And it's basically all the same as long as you don't go as long as you don't go past the range of what is possible. Obviously, you can't do a 500 millisecond attack on the plug-in, but you can on the S6L. But when you do 300 on both, they react the same. The main thing to note is that whatever threshold you use on the plug-in, add 20 to that number, and then that's what you should be typing into your S6L. So if you're using a threshold of minus 20 on the plug-in, that would be 0 dB on the console. Everything else pretty much just match the numbers and you're good to go. On the compressor, same sort of thing. One of the weird things is that I believe they're measuring the knee in percentage on the console, but dB on the plugin. I noticed that if I had the knee to 30 dB on the plugin, it was the same as 100 on the channel strip. So I don't know if that's just them saying that a 30 dB knee is what they would consider a 100% soft knee or something. I don't know, but take the number you use on the plugin, multiply it by 3.3, and you should be able to type it into the S6L. The gain range is different, but if you have no makeup gain, so 0 dB on the plugin, and you have 0 dB makeup gain on the S6L, same thing. You can do 40 dB of makeup on the plugin, but only 20 on the S6L, as well as actually have the option to go down, which is cool. So as long as you don't use more than 20 dB of makeup gain on your Dynamic 3 compressor, you could just type that number into the S6L and you're good to go. Same thing again with the threshold. Whatever threshold you use on the plugin, add 20 to that number, and that's what you use on the S6L. By my ear, it was actually 22.5. So minus 22.5 on the plugin was 0 on the compressor. I know it would make a lot more sense if it was just 20, because that's mathematically what's, kind of in front of our face here. But I don't know. What else do we got? Threshold. It's pretty much it. I'm trying to speed run through this video. So yeah, if you want to attempt some pre-production in Pro Tools and you use this chain, I believe this is the stock S6L chain of events. It's gate and then compressor and then EQ. That's by default, I believe, what's on the channel strip of the S6L. You should be able to, provided you have a multi-track recording and you're using it in Pro Tools, you should be able to get pretty close. And then when you go in the S6L, you don't have to burn 3 plugin slots using these plugins. You could just copy the settings over, and then you have all 4 plugin slots available to do whatever. Furthermore, you could, right here on your next plugin slot, you could have, waves all the way down, and then save those settings and put that in your show as well. So if anyone has any questions, or if I got anything super wrong or missed anything, let me know, but I'm pretty sure it's all written down here. For the record, I didn't want to get into the whole Avid channel strip plugin. There is a plugin called Avid Channel Strip. It's not apples to apples. Maybe when you figure out the threshold differences for the dynamic stuff, maybe it is, but for the EQ, it's for sure not. And I didn't want to end up confuse anything, but I could show, for example, 1.0 on the EQ3, 1.0 on the S6L. It's going to be equal to a Q value of 2.5 on the channel strip plugin, Avid channel strip plugin, not the console. The Avid channel strip plugin has the ability to go tighter and wider than everything else, and there's a couple other things, but Anyways, I think I covered all of that, and yeah, cheers.